Hey y'all! Today we're going to be doing our Lesson 7 practice problems. So let's go ahead and get started with number 1. Number 1 says, here are recipes for 2 different banana cakes. Information for the first recipe is shown in the table. The relationship between cups of flour y and cups of sugar x in the second recipe is y equals 7/4 x. And then there's a part A and a part B. So part A asks, if you used 4 cups of sugar, how much flour does each recipe need? So first of all, let's get started with highlighting what's important in this situation. First of all, the fact that there are 2 different recipes, that's important. The first recipe is shown in the table, and the second recipe is shown in this equation right here. So it's important for us to go ahead and get our facts together before we start with math. So part A is asking us, if you used 4 cups of sugar, how much flour does each recipe need? So we'll start with recipe 1. Recipe 1 has a table with 1/2 cup of sugar, 2.5 cups of sugar, and then 3 cups of sugar. We see that we have 3 cups of sugar right here, and that's 4.5 cups of flour. And we also see that for 1/2 cup of sugar, it's 3/4 of a cup of flour. So what we can do is we can continue this table, and we can add our 4 cups right here. So for 4 cups, it's going to be 4 1/2 plus we need 3/4 2 times, because 3/4 cup is equal to 1/2 a cup, and so 1/2 plus 1/2 is a whole cup. So 3/4 plus 3/4 is going to tell us how many cups of flours we need. So if we need a reminder on adding fractions, I'm going to do this on a separate piece of paper. So I'm going to have 4 1/2 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. So first of all, we need to go ahead and make this into an improper fraction. So we're going to multiply and then add the 1. So that's going to be 9/2 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. And then we need to make it so that all of our denominators are the same. So with this 9/2, we're going to take it to the side and we're going to multiply our numerator and our denominator times 2. So we're going to get 18/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. And when all of our denominators are the same, we can add straight across. So this becomes 18/4 plus 6/4. And 18 plus 6 is 24. So we get 24/4, which if we divide, that makes it 6. So based on the math that we just completed, for recipe 1, we need 6 cups of flour. Now for recipe 2. Recipe 2, we have been given the equation y equals 7/4 x. So in this situation, all that we need to do is input our x value so that we can get our y value as the output. So it's going to be y equals 7/4 times 4, which in fraction form this would be 4/1. And if we do this math, we do 7 times 4, which is 28. 4 times 1 is 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So that means that for recipe 2, we get 7 cups of flour. Now we move on to part B. What is the constant of proportionality for each situation, and what does it mean? So if we remember, to find our constant of proportionality from a table, we need to do our y value divided by our x value. Here it tells us that cups of flour is y and sugar is x. So we need to take our y value and divide by our x value to find our constant of proportionality. So I'm going to do this on another piece of paper. So in order to find our constant of proportionality, which is represented by the letter k, we need to do y divided by x, which in this case is going to be 3/4 divided by 1/2. But when we divide, remember we multiply by the reciprocal. So this becomes 6/4, which we can simplify and get 1 and 1/2. So based on this math, that tells us that our k value for recipe 1 is 6/4, or 1 and 1/2, however you want to write it. And then for recipe 2, our work is simple because it's given to us in an equation. And if we remember, an equation of a proportional relationship is written as y equals kx. So this number right here is our k. So for recipe 2, it's 7/4. And we can't forget the second part of the question. It asks, what does it mean? In both of these situations, this number means for 1 cup of sugar, you will need this many cups of flour. So to answer the second part, for each cup of sugar, we will need k cups of flour, where k, that's your constant of proportionality for each situation. So now we're going to take a look at number 2. Number 2 says, show that the two figures are similar by identifying a sequence of translations, rotations, reflections, and dilations that takes the larger figure to the smaller one. So we need to make sure that we're doing what it tells us and that we take the larger figure to the smaller one. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my situation and see what's going on. If I look at the figure on the right, I see that it's larger than the one on the left, and I also see that it's facing different directions. So what this tells me is that I'm going to have to do a dilation and a reflection at the minimum. If I choose my line of reflection correctly, then I won't have to translate. So let's go ahead and start there. I'm going to try to find a line that is in the middle of two corresponding points on these figures. So the points that I'm going to be looking at are points A and point E. So if I draw a line right here, we'll call this line L. Line L is 4 units away from point E, and it's also 4 units away from point A. So my first step is going to be to reflect. And I'm going to reflect this figure. So this is figure EFGH. We're going to reflect it across line L. So once we do that, this figure is now facing the right direction, but it's larger. So we need to find out what our scale factor is here. So I'm going to look at corresponding sides. So side EF, that corresponds with side AB. Over here, EF is 6 units. Over here, AB is 3 units. So it looks like it shrunk to half the size. So I'm going to go ahead and say dilate figure EFGH using a scale factor of 1/2. And with those 2 simple steps, we're finished with number 2. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at number 3. It says create a graph that shows three linear relationships with different y-intercepts using the following slopes and write an equation for each line. So first what I'm going to go ahead and do is scale my graph. So I'm going to go ahead and put my numbers. And then since I have to use three different y-intercepts, I'm just going to go ahead and pick 3 points on my y-axis. So I'm going to go with the obvious one, which will be the origin, and then I'm going to pick 2 more points. So these are going to be my y-intercepts. Now I need to create the lines with the different slopes. So we'll start off with 1/5. Now remember, slope is written as vertical distance over horizontal distance. So this 1/5 is telling me that every time I move, I need to move vertically 1 unit and horizontally 5 units. So at this one, I'm going to start with my point at the origin. So I'm going to go up 1 and to the right 5, and that'll be my first point. Up another 1 and to the right 5 again. And so after that, I can't plot another point because I don't have 15 on my x-axis. But what I can do is go ahead and connect my points. Please use a ruler when you're doing this at home. So that's my first line. So whenever I write my equation for it, my equation is written as y equals whatever your rate of change is, which in this case was 1/5, x plus your y-intercept, which was 0, so I don't have to add the plus 0. The next one that I'm going to do is 3/5. So for this one, I'll start here at 2. So since it's vertical over horizontal, I need to move up 3 and to the right 5 every time I move. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to connect my points. And there I have my second line. I'm going to go ahead and write my equation for it. It's going to be y equals 3/5. And then I need to add my y-intercept, which is 2 in this case. Now, if you chose a different y-intercept, then your equation would look a little different. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and do the 6/5. This means every time I move from this point, I need to go up 6 and over 5. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that's as much as I can do because I didn't scale this enough so that I would have enough room to go up 6. So there are my 3 lines. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and write my equation. Y equals 6/5 plus my y-intercept, which is 4. Finally, we're on number 4. Number 4 says the graph shows the height in inches, h, of a bamboo plant t months after it has been planted. Part A says write an equation that describes the relationship between h and t. So we can look at this graph and see that this is a linear relationship. So we know that we need to use the form y equals mx plus b. And let's remember that m represents our rate of change and b represents our y-intercept. So the first thing that we need to do is find our rate of change or our slope. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 points that I see. So here's one. And here's a second one. I'm going to go ahead and write down what the coordinates are for those. And I can go ahead and use my slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this will be my point 1 and this will be my point 2. So I'm going to do 30 minus 15 over 6 minus 1. And I end up with 15/5, which is 3. So I know that my rate of change or my slope equals 3. So now we need to find our y-intercept. We can look right here and see that it's between 10 and 15, but we can't be too positive what the number is. So we're going to use some reasoning to figure it out. So we can see that when x is 1, y is 15. And we also know that our rate of change is 3, meaning that every time x increases by 1, y increases by 3. So with that being said, that means when our x value was 0, our y value had to be 3 less than it was when x was 1. So that would make this point 0, 12, meaning that our y-intercept is 12. And in this case, it wants us to use h and t. Our h corresponds with our y, so it's going to be h equals 3t plus 12. That should be your final form. Okay, and looking at part B, it says, after how many months will the bamboo plant be 66 inches tall? Explain or show your reasoning. So there are two ways that we can go about solving this. One way would be to do a table, and the other way would be to solve it as an equation. So we'll start off, I'll show you guys how to do this as a table first, but I'm going to do this on a separate piece of paper. So first, we're going to look and try to find one of our highest points on the graph, which is going to be right about here. This is the point 1145. So I'm going to go ahead and start a table. And we know that every time our x increases by 1, our y increases by 3 because that's our rate of change. So we can continue to add until we get to where we want to be. So using this method, we have arrived at 18 months will give us 66 inches. The other way we could do it is using the equation that we have, which is y equals 3x plus 12. Now we're looking for our x value when our y equals 66. So what we can do is we can substitute 66 in for y, and we'll have 66 equals 3x plus 12. We start by subtracting 12 from both sides, and we end up with 54 equals 3x. And then finally we divide both sides by 3, and what we end up with is x equals 18. If you're not comfortable with this method yet, don't worry about it, we'll get to it later. But both of these are valid methods for solving this. So if we go back to our paper, our answer is 18 months. If you want to explain it, then you can explain what you did, or you can show your reasoning, which would have been one of those ways. So I'll accept showing your reasoning as in showing your graph or your math work, or explaining it in words. Either way is fine, but you do need to have something besides just 18 months. So I hope this was helpful, and I expect you all to do your homework and show me how you use this video to correct your work or to check over it, and you will receive your full points.